The Awakening. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbiting Neptune had detected thousands of objects over its 15-year operational life. Asteroids, comets, rogue planetoids, and the occasional piece of space debris from humanity's earlier, messier ventures into the outer system. But nothing like this. Commander Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display, her coffee forgotten in mid-sip. The object was massive, roughly 3 kilometers long, and it had simply appeared. No gravitational wake, no energy signature preceding its arrival, no distortion in the fabric of space-time that their sensors could detect. One moment, empty space. The next, this. "Run the scan again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the ice forming in her stomach. "Full spectrum. I want to know everything about that thing." Lieutenant Webb's fingers danced across his console. "Ma'am, the composition it's not matching anything in our database. The hull appears to be a metallic crystal lattice, but the molecular structure is actively shifting. It's like watching liquid metal frozen in time, except it's not frozen, it's breathing." "Ships don't breathe, Lieutenant." "This one does, Commander." Sarah set down her coffee and moved closer to the display. The vessel's design was unlike anything humanity had created. Where human ships were utilitarian, all thrust-to-weight ratios and modular components, this craft was art. Sweeping curves flowed into angular weapon arrays, and what appeared to be energy conduits pulsed with a faint, rhythmic luminescence across its hull, like veins carrying light instead of blood. "Ma'am, we're picking up a signal," Webb announced, his voice climbing an octave. Oh my God, it's responding to our scans. It knows we're here." The lights on the monitoring station flickered. Every screen, every display, every holographic projector suddenly showed the same thing. A symbol. Elegant, geometric, utterly alien. It rotated slowly, almost hypnotically, and beneath it, text began scrolling, not in any human language, but the station's AI was translating in real time. "I am the Requiem. I have slept for 50,000 of your years. Why have you awakened me?" Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs, but she'd trained for first contact scenarios her entire career. She activated the communication suite, her voice clear and formal. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Navy, Neptune Station 7. We did not intentionally awaken you. Our sensors detected your vessel. We mean no harm. We come in peace." Even as she said it, she winced internally. Humanity's first words to an ancient alien intelligence, and she'd used the most cliched phrase in the lexicon. The response came immediately. Peace. An interesting concept. The last visitors to this system did not come in peace. They came with fire and fury. They came to consume. The holographic display shifted, and suddenly Sarah and her crew were watching history unfold. They saw worlds, beautiful, verdant worlds orbiting distant stars. They saw cities of light and crystal, spires reaching toward purple skies, and beings of grace and intelligence moving through streets that seemed grown rather than built. The architects, the Requiem called them. Its creators. Then they saw the darkness arrive. Ships, if they could be called that, organic, writhing things that looked like tumors given form and purpose. They fell upon the architects' worlds like locusts, stripping planets bare, consuming everything, metal, stone, flesh, knowledge. The architects fought back. They fought with weapons that turned stars into bombs, with shields that could withstand the heat of supernovas, with artificial intelligence that could predict enemy movements 1,000 steps in advance. It wasn't enough. One by one, the architects' worlds fell, until only the Requiem remained, the last warship of a dead civilization, carrying the final protocol: run, hide, survive, remember. For 50 millennia I have drifted in darkness. I am a weapon without a wielder, a guardian without anyone to protect. Why have you awakened me? Children of this young world, do you seek to use me? To command me? Sarah felt the weight of the question. She could lie, could claim pure scientific interest, but something told her this entity, this requiem, would know. Honestly, we didn't know you were here. We're explorers, watchers of the outer dark. We look for threats, for opportunities, for understanding. We're not conquerors. We're barely off our own world by galactic standards. We're just trying to survive and grow. A long silence followed. Then, show me. Before Sarah could ask what it meant, the entire data archive began uploading. Not hacked, invited. The Requiem was requesting permission through every protocol simultaneously, waiting for human approval even as it could have simply taken what it wanted. Sarah met Webb's eyes, saw the question there, and nodded. Grant access, open archive. They watched as humanity's entire history streamed into the alien intelligence. Every war, every peace, every atrocity, every act of mercy. The Holocaust and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Hiroshima and the Mars Accords. Humanity's shameful past and its stumbling attempts at redemption. Their art, their music, their literature, their science, their dreams of reaching the stars not as conquerors, but as participants in something greater. The Requiem processed it all in seconds. A civilization's entire legacy absorbed and analyzed in the time it took Sarah to draw breath. You are young. So very young. You have made mistakes that would shame the eldest races. Yet you learn, you adapt, you persist, not through strength alone, but through innovation, through the audacity to try solutions that logic would deem impossible. The architects were ancient when they fell. They had forgotten how to improvise, how to think in ways that defied prediction. You are chaos, given form and purpose. Fascinating. Is that a compliment? Webb whispered. It is an observation, and perhaps hope. For I detect them again, the devourers. They have found this system. They are coming. Every alarm on Neptune Station 7 began screaming at once. Long-range sensors, previously clear, suddenly lit up with contacts. Dozens of them, hundreds, all moving toward the inner system at impossible speeds, leaving trails of consumed matter in their wake like slugs leaving slime. Sarah's blood turned to ice. How long do we have? At their current velocity, they will reach your homeworld in 72 hours. Your species will be extinct in 73. Unless what? Sarah demanded. Unless you are willing to forge an alliance that has never existed in all my memory. Unless you are willing to trust me with your lives, and I am willing to trust you with my purpose. The architects created me to be wielded by them alone. Their neural patterns, their thought processes, their tactical philosophy. But they are dust. You are flesh and stubbornness. Together, we might achieve what neither could alone. Sarah looked at her crew, 12 men and women whose faces reflected the same terror and desperate hope she felt. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, and it came with a doomsday clock. No time for committees, for debate, for careful diplomatic protocols, just a choice, trust or die. What do you need from us? She asked. The Requiem's hull blazed with light, and a single transport pod ejected, streaking toward Neptune Station 7. Send me someone who understands both war and compassion. Send me someone who can think when logic fails. Send me someone human. Sarah Chen didn't hesitate. Prep my suit. I'm going in. As she moved toward the airlock, Lieutenant Webb caught her arm. Commander, we don't know what that thing will do to you. It could be a trap, could be our only chance, Sarah finished. Get word to Earth. Tell them what's coming. Tell them we're not going down without a fight. She smiled grimly. Tell them humanity just made its first real friend in the universe. The airlock cycled. The pod waited, its interior pulsing with alien light. Sarah Chen, daughter of miners and scientists, stepped inside, and the Requiem opened its ancient heart to her.
Forged in fire.
The interior of the Requiem was alive. Sarah Chen had expected corridors, control rooms, perhaps some sort of command bridge. Instead, she found herself suspended in a crystalline chamber, where walls flowed like mercury and light moved with purpose rather than physics. The moment the transport pod sealed behind her, she felt it. A presence, vast and ancient, turning its attention toward her like a star focusing its gravity on a single atom. "Welcome, Commander Chen," the Requiem's voice resonated through her bones. "This will be uncomfortable." Before Sarah could ask what "this" meant, tendrils of light erupted from the walls, wrapping around her helmet, her suit, her gloves. She gasped as her helmet's display exploded with data. Tactical projections, star charts spanning galaxies, weapon specifications that made humanity's most advanced arsenal look like stone axes. And beneath it all, she felt something else. Emotion, grief, loss, the crushing weight of being the last of your kind, carrying the memories of billions who would never sing, never love, never see another sunrise. "I'm sorry," Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry for what you've lost." The tendrils hesitated. "You empathize? Even now, as I invade your mind to learn your tactical patterns?" "You're not invading," Sarah said, her voice stronger now. "You're sharing. There's a difference. Yes, I'm terrified. Yes, this is overwhelming, but you asked for trust, and I'm giving it. Now show me how we save my world." The crystalline chamber shifted, and suddenly Sarah was standing on a holographic bridge that overlaid the physical space around her. She could see Neptune Station 7 in the distance, could see Earth as a blue jewel in the vast dark. And between them and the homeworld, she saw them, the Devourers. They weren't ships. They were nightmares given form, organic vessels the size of cities, covered in what looked like mouths lined with crystallized teeth. Where they passed through space, they left nothing. Not debris, not radiation, nothing. They consumed matter, energy, information itself, leaving behind voids that made the vacuum of space look crowded by comparison. "How do we fight that?" Sarah breathed. "The architects couldn't," the Requiem admitted. "They fought with precision, with overwhelming force, with predictable tactics refined over millions of years. The Devourers adapted to everything, every weapon, every strategy, every contingency. They learned, they evolved, they consumed. But you," the hologram shifted, showing humanity's military history. Not the grand battles, but the desperate ones. Thermopylae, the Alamo, Dunkirk, Stalingrad, Mars Rebellion. Battles where humanity had faced impossible odds and survived, not through strength, but through stubborn, illogical refusal to accept defeat. "You fight dirty," the Requiem said, and Sarah could swear there was appreciation in its voice. "You change the rules. You turn your weaknesses into weapons. You do not accept the parameters of engagement your enemies set. This is not logical. This is not efficient. This is magnificently, beautifully chaotic. Teach me this chaos, Commander. Help me become unpredictable." Sarah's mind raced. She looked at the approaching swarm, at the Requiem's weapon specifications, at Earth's defensive fleet scrambling into position, 36 ships that would be devoured in minutes. Then she smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You said the Devourers consume everything, right? Matter, energy, information?" "Correct. It is their nature. They cannot resist."
then we're going to give them the worst case of indigestion in galactic history. Over the next 60 hours, Sarah worked with the Requiem in a partnership that neither had imagined possible. The ancient AI would propose tactics based on millennia of warfare. Sarah would tear them apart, rebuild them, add elements that made no sense by conventional logic, but had worked for humanity time and time again. Feints within feints, traps that looked like mistakes, weapons that would seem to fail at exactly the right moment. The AI absorbed it all, its processors adapting, learning not just what humans did, but why. Learning that sometimes the wrong answer was exactly right. Learning that chaos wasn't the absence of order, it was a different kind of order entirely. One that couldn't be predicted because it was being invented moment by moment. "We're not going to meet them head-on," Sarah explained as she finalized the battle plan. "Humanity learned a long time ago, never fight the enemy where they're strongest. We're going to make them come to us, make them think they're winning, and then we're going to punch them in the throat when they're not looking. Your species has a gift for violence cloaked in metaphor. I find it disturbingly effective," the Requiem observed. When the Devourers reached Neptune's orbit, they found the Requiem waiting, alone, apparently damaged, its shields flickering, energy bleeding into space. An easy target, an irresistible meal for creatures that fed on advanced technology. They swarmed toward it like sharks scenting blood. Sarah stood on the holographic bridge, her hands dancing across controls that responded to thought as much as touch. She felt the Requiem around her, its power now an extension of her will. Earth's fleet hung back, hidden in Neptune's shadow, waiting for her signal. She had argued with Admiral Okonkwo for an hour before he had agreed to trust her plan. Trust an anthropologist turned commander who'd spent 2 days inside an alien warship to coordinate humanity's defense. "It's insane, Chen," Okonkwo had said. "Exactly. That's why it will work." The first Devourers reached the Requiem and opened their massive mouths, beginning the consumption process. Energy tendrils lashed out, seeking to drain the warship's power, to digest its exotic matter hull, to absorb 50,000 years of architect technology. "Now," Sarah whispered. The Requiem's shields didn't fail. They inverted. Instead of keeping energy out, they trapped it in. The Devourers suddenly found themselves locked in an embrace with a ship that was feeding them all right, feeding them a carefully crafted data virus wrapped in a power surge that looked like a malfunction, but was actually a weapon. Information designed not by logical architects, but by illogical, creative, thoroughly irritating humans. The virus didn't try to destroy the Devourers' organic systems. That would be predictable. Instead, it introduced conflicting instructions at the cellular level. Consume, but also preserve. Advance, but also retreat. Attack, but also defend. It created a feedback loop of impossible choices, and the Devourers, creatures of pure instinct and adaptation, couldn't handle it. They began consuming themselves, their own matter, their own fleet members, in a spreading cascade of auto-cannibalism. "Phase 2. Sarah commanded, and the Requiem burst from the center of the confused swarm like a spear through flesh. But it wasn't alone. Earth's fleet emerged from hiding, not to fight conventionally, but to execute the most insane maneuver in human military history. Each ship had been equipped with modified mining charges, crude, simple, thoroughly human technology. They flew not at the Devourers, but at the Requiem itself. The alien warship opened fire, its weapons apparently targeting its own allies. Except the weapons fire was actually a precisely calibrated tractor beam network, and the attack with Sarah and the Requiem catching each mining charge and slinging it at relativistic speeds directly into the mouths of the confused devourers. Kinetic energy on a scale that turns simple explosives into planet killers. The devourers died screaming, their organic hulls ruptured, their consumption processes overloaded by both the virus and the sudden influx of matter they couldn't process fast enough. In 20 minutes, the swarm was reduced to expanding clouds of organic debris. In 21 minutes, those debris clouds were being consumed by the surviving devourers, who couldn't help but feed, even on their own dead, spreading the virus further. In 30 minutes, it was over. Sarah collapsed in her suit, exhausted, as the holographic bridge faded